Hey guys, Tyler here. Something a little different. I wanted to review this and also just sort of give a comprehensive workflow of it so you can decide for yourself if you want to buy one of them. I'm doing a sort of POV thing. I don't have a chest rig or anything like that, so I'm just using my hand and relying on the stabilization of my camera. So, the Flair Neo. It's got a million different names now. I've had it for a couple of years, and it took me probably a year to start getting consistently decent coffee out of it. And I had to watch a bunch of different videos to figure out how to do that, so hopefully this can be like a one-stop shop for people who already own it or people who are thinking about owning it. Crap I have here either comes with it or is a cup. I assume you have a cup. A second cup as a drip tray, because the drip tray on this thing is not really a drip tray. You see a tiny drop of water that has fully escaped this because it's flat. Those rings are useless. I've already ground my coffee. If you're using pre-ground coffee, you can get a pressurized portafilter for it. At the point that you are willing to deal with something as finicky as a lever espresso machine, if you don't already have a good grinder, skip it. That's a quick review. If you don't feel like grinding your own coffee, don't bother with this. You are never going to get a good espresso with pre-ground coffee. And if you're messing with all of this, you're not gonna put up with it. You know, if you're not willing to grind your own coffee, you're definitely not gonna be willing to put up with this. So, I've measured out my coffee beforehand, just single dose, but I'm gonna measure again because of ground retention. I have the brew chamber in a Hario V60 here. You could also use a bowl. I presume you have a bowl. But you want something where you can submerge it, but not all the way. That way you have something to grip onto that isn't scalding hot, boiling steel. The difficulty is you want to get this thing very, very hot. There's different ways to do that. This is the best way I've found. Some people suggest boiling it in the kettle. That'll get you better coffee. It'll also burn the hell out of your hands a lot of the time, in my experience or imagination. At least I haven't tried that. You can sit it on top of your kettle and have it steam it because that steam's going to be hotter. That works very well. Again, though, I burnt the hell out of my hands. You can preheat the brew basket as well. Or the brew basket as well. I've found that that's not really necessary. You want to get this very clean. Every time you use this, you're going to rinse it out and see that it looks clean. It looks just like this. It's not. You need to take a towel, a paper towel, whatever, and if you're using something white, you will see a bunch of brown oil coming off of this because there are all these little microscopic holes that like to absorb stuff. If you do the steaming method over your kettle, that also works. If you have a temperature-controlled kettle, which I would say is the biggest upgrade to this thing that I have noticed, set it to 100 degrees Celsius, just flat out boiling. If you have a normal kettle, it will only go to boiling, but it won't hold it there. So what you'll find is you'll have to do what I'm about to do here, where I'm going to take hot water off my kettle. So I'm going to sit you guys down so you can stare at my coffee. I take my kettle. I am going to pour boiling hot water all over this thing. Oh yeah, and I've got a knockbox over there. Also not necessary. And a WD-T tool behind that. And just fill her up. Maybe to about there. And then what you will have to do if you don't have a temperature-controlled kettle is set this down, do all your prep work, then reset it to boiling, then take it right off of the boil again. I am just going to put this back on the stand, or it will take me back up to boiling, hopefully, and then hold it there. Okay, now we want to take our brew baskets, take our dosing funnel, tear our scale, and then take our ground coffee, put her in there. See what we got. 13.2, good enough for me. level it out a bit, give it some WDT. This is not necessary, though it does improve your extraction. This will just make things more consistent. You know, you're doing this every single time. You won't spend all this faff to only to have to throw out one in every 10 shots because something weird happened. And then I shake it a little bit, and then I'm gonna tamp. So I'm gonna set you down because I kind of need 2 hands for tamping. What I like to do is sort of wedge distribute it. That way I can take this off and then go down. They say you can get 16 grams in this basket, and while technically you can, I have not gotten a good coffee out of 16 grams out of this basket. I think this does better with lungo shots than shorter shots. So I'm like in a 2.5 to a 3 to 1 ratio rather than just a 2 to 1 ratio. Pop that on top, and then in a kind of, you almost need 3 hands for this. I'm gonna switch to portrait real quick. Yep. Okay. Grab your boiling water, grab your incredibly hot brew chamber out of the thing, pop it on here, making sure to grab the relatively cold silicone, and then you're gonna pour up to that fill line in there. Then, I would normally be going much faster, but I'm trying to film it all. Pop your pressure gauge on top. You can buy these without a pressure gauge. I don't know how the hell you would manage something like that. Sorry for the crazy angles you're getting here. Hopefully you get the idea though. You pop the top on. Make sure you can see the pressure gauge, and then I'm gonna start a timer. We're gonna very slowly put this down, get rid of all of our headspace. And I'm waiting until I hear or see drops coming out the bottom there. Then we're gonna mash it up to 7, then taper off down to 6 bars of pressure. And then it will naturally taper off there. That was a pretty bad shot on my part, as I cannot see the output, but the time was good. So yeah, if you're trying to multitask while you're making your coffee in the morning, this is definitely not it, because I'm pretty sure this is not going to be a great shot. I'll try it with you though. Again, kind of need time the drips here. It's okay if like 1 or 2 drips there. Looks halfway decent. Let's give it a stir. the last minute or so of filming probably looked crazy. Give that a stir. Pop our spoon away in the drip tray. Crema is not too thick, probably because we didn't get very high pressure. What you want to do is you want to try to jam this up to 9 bars, then take it down to 8, then take it down to 7, then take it down to 6 when your flow rate's the highest, and then keep it at 6 for the rest of the brew. That gets some pretty decent stuff. This took about 35 seconds with super long pre-infusion. I find very long pre-infusion helps a lot, especially if you're doing lighter roasts. All right, here goes. Not as terrible at all as I thought it was going to be, actually. It's a little acidic, but not necessarily a bad way. There's like no lingering bitterness. There's bitterness, obviously, it's coffee. There's gonna be some bitterness. If a recipe tells you that it's going to completely get rid of the bitterness, they're kind of trying to sell you snake oil. It may do that if you are a coffee drinker, right? It's all relative things. This is like acidic bordering on sour. like blueberry, blackberry notes, some roasty chocolatey notes. That's pretty good. I think I'll put that on some milk and have a decent time of it. But yeah, so all in all, normally this would take me, 10 minutes to pull a single shot of espresso. If you are getting one of these expecting it to be a cheap way to have coffee in the morning every morning and, it's going to replace your run to Starbucks, I mean, it may take as much time, but if the Starbucks is on the way to your work, it probably won't, unless that Starbucks is very busy all the time. And is your average Starbucks drinker going to want to put up with all of this? And what I didn't show you, so I didn't have to run back and forth into the kitchen, is cleaning, you're going to need a grinder, so it's not really $200. It's more like $350 if you're getting the same grinder I have. You could maybe bring that down to $250 if you bought a used grinder that was capable of doing espresso. You'll probably want a knockbox. You'll probably want a WDT tool. You'll definitely want a decent scale. So you're really looking at like $400 all told. For me, for a coffee enthusiast, this is worth it because I don't use this every single day. I will switch my grind setting to espresso fines and I'll grab a thing like this. I make this because I want good coffee, right? If coffee for you is something that helps you wake up in the morning, this is obviously not going to be it, but that's not the target audience of it. That is, in a nutshell, how I get decent shots out of this thing. The preheating really matters. The tapering the shot, so not just keeping it pegged at one end or in the middle, but taking it from high to low, and a long pre-infusion. So letting its very low pressure at the beginning while you remove that headspace. That headspace is just, there's an air gap here. So if you just mash it down, what you're doing is you're creating pressure in that air gap that's forcing channels down through, and you'll get some weird sputtering, and a lot of times the coffee will compress and then expand back as you let off of it, and you'll get basically a little steam coffee bomb that gets boiling hot coffee and scalding steam everywhere, and that's no fun. So yeah, it's a little bit of a mess. It's affordably priced. It's finicky, but all espresso is. You're not really getting everything you want if you're expecting to just buy this. But overall, I'm very happy with it as someone who is a coffee enthusiast. So yeah, I'm sorry about the jank camera, but hopefully that helps some of you who are deciding on this. As you can see, you're ending up with steam and coffee oils and all sorts of stuff everywhere. So if you're a neat freak, you're going to have to do a lot of cleaning. This also takes down very nicely. So it's very easy to move. It doesn't take up, if counter space is an issue, as it is here, as you might be able to tell by the fact that this isn't in my kitchen. Very quick to take down, pop it somewhere else, and it's not taking up a bunch of counter space. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. Something totally different. I may never do this again. Let me know if that was helpful. Thanks.